What are my levels like? Is that alright? I never draw shapes, but I feel like I should be able to draw shapes more easily. Good afternoon, welcome back. I am going to take a look at the first game from the October 1991 LSAT. This is PrepTest 2. I have not looked at this yet, as always. We just finished PrepTest 1 last week, and I am moving right along. I'm presuming, as the first game, there's no guarantee it's going to be the easiest, but it's usually one of the two easier ones, so I'm not expecting this to be super hard. Let's jump right in. The Mammoth Corporation has just completed hiring 9 new workers. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. F and I were hired on the same day as each other and no one else. So really, F and I is a single element. Actually, sorry, I jumped ahead. There wasn't much to this setup, and so I started to look at the clues. Am I setting this up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? As I look at the questions, I don't see any questions that just give me the list of workers in order. It could be just a regular order setup, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I jumped into the clues to check real quick, and so I guess what I'm noticing is actually definitely there aren't going to be 9 spaces because some of these elements go together. F and I go together. C and G were hired on the same day as each other, and no one else was on that day. So C, G is another blocked off element. And on each of the other days of hiring, exactly 1 worker was hired. And then I can see a bunch of arrangement clues. Yeah, so I think this is another tree branch diagram game. I'm not going to set this up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Instead, I'm just going to build out that arrangements diagram that we used a few weeks ago for the third game. Yeah, I think it was the third game in the first prep test, June 1991 test. So for example, E is hired before B. H is hired before D. D is hired after I, but before E. So D dot 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 E. Again, I'm just going down these clues here. G was hired after J, so J and then G, and G was also hired after B, so B and then G. And B was hired before J, B before J. Okay, so the diagram I'm going to build out here, clearly you want to notice things like, oh, well, I is always connected to F, C is always connected to G. I don't notice those pop up anywhere else, so I think that's going to be it. But the diagram I want to build is going to connect all these different clues together. Who looks like they could go first? I think maybe E. Oh, D. Oh gosh, F or I actually seem like they're first. So I'm looking, E seems before B, but then D seems before E, and F and I seem to be before D. And so I'm just kind of following that back up. It's not super important that we start with who is actually first, but it's just going to keep things a little bit easier. So I've got, let's actually move this over. Little advantage I have that, of course, you would not have on the real thing. Fi looks like it's going to go first, and then they're going to be before D. Do I know anything else about F or I? I'm not seeing it. But D, I know several things. I know H also goes before D, so that's that second clue right there. And then I know that E is supposed to go after D, so that's that clue right there. E is also supposed to go before B, so that takes care of that clue. And then, let's see, J gets involved with CG, but we don't know anything about any of them yet. But then B is supposed to be before C and G. B is also before J. Oh, interesting. J is supposed to be before CG as well. So actually, let's adjust this a little bit. That's going to be B before J and J before CG. They're blocked. They're blocked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's all 9 elements. And honestly, it doesn't look like there's much to this game. H or Fi have to be first. I think CG has to be last. Yeah, unless I'm messing something up. Really, it looks to me like you could set up 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 hiring slots. And honestly, it seems like the only question is whether the first slot is H or Fi, and then the second slot is the other one, and then it has to go D before E before B, before J, before C, G. And that almost makes me wonder, did I mess up a clue? B was hired before J. G was hired after J and B. I don't think so. So really, there's only one choice each time. Where are we going to end up with the H and the FI set of people? Okay, so who were the last two workers to be hired? Number one, C and G, right? So that's got to be D. Who was hired on the fourth day of hiring? E. This is not a typical scenario. Definitely not anymore. This may be an artifact of the fact that the test is from 1991. Exactly how many workers were hired before J? Well, only 2 were after J, and J is one of the 9 workers, so that takes care of 3 of the 9, so the other 6 have to be hired before J. Of course, we could also just count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's look at number 5 because it is specific. I'm not really doing these in order, but we may as well try. If E was hired on a Monday, what is the earliest day on which G could have been hired? Well, if this is a Monday, then this would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's really it, right? What's the earliest day on which, G could be hired? Thursday would be the earliest day. So that has to be D. And then which of the following must be true? D was the first worker? Definitely not. H was the first worker? Could be, but it's not a must be, right? We need a must be true here. F and I were the first 2 workers? Again, could be, but not must be. H and F were the first 2 workers? Definitely not. Either H was the first worker to be hired, or F and I were the first 2 workers to be hired. Yes, absolutely. So there it is. D, A, E, D. And honestly, I'm not even going to go check this because I'm quite confident that we got everything right. So there's another tree branch diagram for you. But even among tree branch diagrams, this is not common to be able to figure out for sure 5 of the 7 spots before we do anything else. But you do get easy games from time to time, so I'm not going to say it's impossible that you'll run into a game this simple on the real thing. But that's that. I hope that you find that helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe if you do. I will be continuing to go through all these games over the next several months, probably a year or 2, to be able to finish every single game across the spectrum. All the prep tests I can get my hands on. If there is a game you want me to move up in the order, though, if you want me to do one earlier, you have been trying personally to work, whatever given game, and you can't figure it out, and the explanations in your Kaplan or Princeton review book or whatever you're working on don't make sense, just comment down below, and I'm happy to work on those. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.